Hey, it's Drybear. Today, back with another guide for Dragonflight, continuing our class starter guide series that it helps you get started in a class that you may be switching over to or playing for the first time in Dragonflight. And today we're talking about the brand new class, the Dragonflight Evoker. If you're still unsure on what class to play, I've done multiple guides on how to pick your main class for Dragonflight, linked down below in the description. Today we're going to cover both of the specs, Preservation and Devastation, go over talent builds for leveling and questing, and some basic tips and tricks that will help you get to level 70 and beyond. Let's begin with a basic overview of Evoker and how they function, some things you can look forward to in the class spec tree that are only available, or available to both specs, I should say, things you will use with both. Unlike most healers, I'm actually going to recommend leveling as Devastation if you are planning to do Preservation. Doesn't mean you can't level as Preservation. They're going to do just fine. They have plenty of AoE. I just think that of the two choices, Devastation is just significantly stronger, tons of AoE, lots of really cool options. So that's my recommendation. But what is different about Evoker relative to other classes? They are like Demon Hunter in that they can jump and glide. It's not quite as far, but it's very nice. You still will want to use Goblin Glider kits while leveling, as you will get a lot of value out of that. But you just got to double jump and get that motion in there. They're going to have plenty of ways to move in and out of battle, lots of movement, lots of really cool dragon abilities that help them control the battlefield, including dashes and channels and targets, things like that. So they're able to do a lot of really cool things with that. The big thing for them is they're highly mobile, but they do have this new charge mechanic, which will come into play with a few abilities. The first one you get is Fire Breath. And so you can see that as I'm holding this down, the bar goes up, you get to different thresholds, and different effects happen depending on how long you hold it down for. So we'll talk about that in the build section for talent builds. If you're looking for my talent builds, those will be linked in the description. They are just an import string. So once you get them, all you have to do is take that, go to the import, dump it in, name it, and then hit import, and you're good to go. So that's all you need to do. Those are linked down in the description if you want to just import the build for level 60. And as we go through the video, I'll talk about where to spend your points as you get more going up to level 70. Now, before we get into the class leveling builds, let's go through the class talent tree and talk about the noteworthy things so you're aware of what both specs will be dealing with as they level and as they start doing dungeons and beyond. Starting with Verdant Embrace. This is a leap to an ally effect, which actually has a significant single target heal on it. For Preservation, we use this for large bursts on a single target. But what's cool about it is, while it does fly to an ally when you press it to give them a heal, you can use it on yourself. So just target yourself, press your Verdant Embrace. It's a very easy way to get a large single target heal if you're in trouble, which is useful because as you're healing yourself with leveling while doing Emerald Blossom, Verdant Embrace, Emerald Blossom is your essence consumer that creates this AoE on top of you. I do recommend running Panacea, which means that when you put it on yourself, it'll instantly heal you right away and then heal you again. But what's cool is you can run Scarlet Adaptation, which means that you store effective healing, and then your next damaging Living Flame allows you to do extra damage, which is really cool. And there's some effects in the Devastation tree that will give you instant cast Living Flames, AoE Living Flames. So all of it kind of runs together. So as you're taking damage while leveling, pulling big groups of mobs, healing yourself, you convert it into damage. It gets really cool. The pacing of this class is really fun. Not only that, but if you maintain high levels of HP with Exuberance, while your HP is above 75% health, which makes it even more encouraging to heal yourself, your movement speed is increased. And this is going to be super useful. 10% movement speed while leveling and questing. Although you will be dragon riding a lot, it is still nice to have that extra little bit of movement speed. Defense-wise, you have a couple options. You can run Obsidian Scales. In fact, I recommend that you do. This gives you, it's a nice 1.5 minute cooldown damage reduction. You can even run a talent that gives an additional charge of it, which means that when you get into trouble, you can just pop this up, give some nice defense, you armor up, and you can take a big pull on very easily. You have Renewing Blaze, which means that when you activate it, all the damage you take is healed back. So again, bunch of mobs up, pull everything, big AoE, pop Renewing Blaze, pop your Obsidian Scales, and all the damage you take in the next 8 seconds will get slowly healed back, which means you can go right back to full HP, right back into the action. And the last thing is that you'll want to run whatever build you run, whether you use my leveling build or not. I do recommend getting Protracted Talons and Leaping Flames. This will make your Living Flame after Fire Breath hit another target And then your Reserve Strike, which is like your moving single target damage, it will also hit 2 targets instead of 1, which is super useful. You'll be using both, whether you level Devastation or Preservation, but just keep in mind that those are in the class tree and super useful. Now let's talk about the Devastation Leveling build. This will change based on your encounters, and once you hit level 70, you have more points to spend, but this is a level 60 build that you can start with that gets you through leveling very quickly. There's a couple options here, and one of the reasons why I like the Devastation talent tree is there are actually a few ways to build it, some specifying in single target, some for AoE. This is the build that I would recommend getting. It gives you some really nice instant cast Living Flames, allows you to spend your essence in a really healthy way. You also get ways, Charged Blast is super nice. When you do blue damage, it increases your next Pyre, which is your essence spender right here, right at the top of the tree. You 2 essence and it does damage. You can increase that up to 20 times, which is super nice. That's double damage on your Pyre. Great way to spend it. And then on top of that, you'll also be getting Shattering Star. 15-second cooldown blue damage. What's cool about this is that when you use Shattering Star, it will debuff the target, increasing the damage that target takes. So you can use blue spells, stack up your Charged Blast, spend your Shattering Star to debuff them, and then go right into crazy AoE using your Fire Breath, your Dragon Rage, your Pyre, and you get crazy damage out of it. You have lots of mobility, you can move around, but this is the build that I would recommend. As you move towards level 70 in the class tree, I would recommend picking up Terror of the Skies. There's not really anything down here that's mind-bogglingly good that's going to make your leveling better. Zephyr is nice for AoE damage taken. You can get Time Spiral if you want. Having Deep Breath Stun is super useful, especially if you get into a bad spot. Not really required. And you can find some other options in here as you level up that might be useful for you as leveling. Like I mentioned, Obsidian Bulwark, giving you more defensive options. You increase your healing, which will work into Scarlet Adaptation, etc. And in the Devastation tree, I would recommend finishing out Scintillation and Burnout. Super good. It doubles the proc chance on Burnout. This actually happens quite a lot and gives you a lot of really nice instant cast Living Flames, which works great with Leaping Flames, because then you'll do AoE on top of that. There's a lot of synergy for Living Flames there. And then after that, down here, I would recommend getting Feed the Flames. This one's so nice. Consuming Essence Burst, which is when you get a free proc on your Essence ability, reduces the remaining cooldown of Fire Breath. And Fire Breath is your breath attack here. Super useful, does a ton of damage, and resetting the cooldown on it means you can keep pulling, doing more AoEs. It's kind of the bread and butter of the build. So move towards Feed the Flames as you get more points available. Now, special mention here, because there are a lot of ways to work this Devastation tree, you can get Firestorm. I see a lot of people experimenting with Firestorm, especially while leveling. If this was an instant cast, I would pick it up. I find that since it does damage over 12 seconds, and it's a 1.7 second cast, I didn't find that I was clearing mobs any faster while using it. I'd much rather have higher stacks on these and maybe even move down into the blue side of the tree. So I didn't find Firestorm all that meaningful while leveling, but it's super nice. If you do still want to go down that road, I would recommend getting Engulfing Blaze. This gives you 40% damage on Living Flame. It increases the cast time, but again, you can go down and you get instant cast Living Flame, which means it won't matter. But once you do have Burnout, it's just an AoE ground target. It is another option if you'd like. I think some of these further one-downs, the ones that are further down, are a little bit better to use, but because it's AoE, I feel like there's already, like, you have to stand in channel with Fire Breath, then you have to, stack up your other abilities, you have all these animations that you're using, trying to get everything to work, and then once it's all done, I feel like the mobs are already down to a reasonable level of HP. I want to just be using my Dragon Rage, my Fire Breath, and Burning Pyre. I don't really want to be doing another 1.7 cast for AoE that lasts 12 seconds. But you can use it. It is effective. If you like using it, you like, popping it down as the mobs are coming in and then using your abilities. I just didn't find it to be all that useful. For leveling, I should say. I'm sure in tons of, specifically M+, this is going to be God mode, but for leveling, I didn't find it that useful. Now let's cover a quick rotation tips on how to use your abilities, what to look for. Devastation Evoker is not super complicated in its usage. It's more about lining things up properly. It's more of a mental thing. You do have nice mobility, but the general idea here is you want to maximize your passive which is going to be your Essence Burst, Living Flame, and Azure Strike, which is this thing here, have a chance to make your next Disintegrate or Pyre cost no incense. But this is your spender here. Essence is your passive ability, and you really want to be doing this because Pyre is super strong, does a bunch of damage. So what I'd recommend is, use your defense on cooldown as you need it, pop your healing as you need it, heal yourself if you need to, yada, yada, yada. But if you're ready to deal damage, start with Dragon Rage. This is a 2-minute cooldown. If it's off cooldown, definitely start with it. This throws out a bunch of Pyres, crazy burst damage. And what's cool is for the next 14 seconds, you get a buff that makes it so your Essence Burst has a 100% chance to occur, and you get maximum benefit from your mastery. So big pulls, drop Dragon Rage to start. Follow that up with your Fire Breath. With this one, the longer you hold it, the more upfront damage it does. The less you hold it, the more dot damage it does. So you kind of have to, a lot of people just charge it to level 1 or level 2 because the effective damage is the same. But if you feel like the mobs are going to die really quickly, then you might want to just charge it up mostly the way. Otherwise, you can just jump it at level 1 or level 2, which is a nice balance between the dot and the upfront damage. Then follow that up with Eternity Surge, which is your other big AoE. It is another channel. This one's very straightforward on the channel. The longer you charge it, the more targets it hits. So if there's only 2 targets for Eternity Surge, you can just tap it and let it finish the first level. If there's 4, 6, or 8, you'll have to charge it longer. But this one does give a really nice damage bonus. Then follow it up with Shattering Star, which is the debuff that we talked about. Super nice. Throw this one out, big burst, and then it gives you that window, that time window where they take extra damage from you. And from this point on, this is where you're spending your abilities. Hopefully you have Charge Blast stacked up a bunch by using your blue, and then you just want to start dumping your Pyres. If you have any instant cast Living Flames, you want to dump those as well. Hopefully those are, hopefully those are instant cast or enhanced in some way. And then if you're single target, use Disintegrate for bonus damage. If you're AoE, you want to be spending your Pyres. Very easy, very straightforward. Just manage your Essence, and then if you need AoE, just pull big, get lots of mobs together, do all your AoEs, heal yourself, throw out your dashes, and that's it. And one crucial thing I forgot to mention, I can't believe I forgot this, tip the scales. Super straightforward. You'll have this for both builds before we jump into Preservation. You activate this, and your next charge ability, your channeled ability, is max power. So you want to use this on cooldown when you get the opportunity, usually with living, with Fire Breath. But if you need healing or something, you're in Preservation, you can too. But just make sure you're using that. It's kind of just like a free bonus. Now let's talk about Preservation. As I mentioned, I think that you probably should run Devastation if you're leveling. Doesn't mean Preservation's bad. It just means Devastation's really, really good. But you can run Preservation. You're still going to have the base kit abilities. You're still going to have Protracted Talons. You're still going to have Leaping Flames. So your AoEs will still be there. You'll still be able to dump on targets, single or AoE. You'll still have all kinds of dots and things like that. It just won't have as many scaling and bonus opportunities that you would have with Devastation. But if you do want to level Preservation, maybe you just want to get comfortable with your healer for later on. I think this is a good idea if you're going to be playing Mythic Plus, because you will be required to do damage anyway. So it's nice to get comfortable to doing damage as you play your healer class. So if you want to level as Preservation, there's not a crazy amount of options here in Preservation for damage. I think you can run Emerald Communion and Spirit Bloom for some nice healing. You're going to have some options of passives here that help you keep yourself alive. There's not like a crazy amount that help you deal crazy damage while leveling. And the leveling process is very, very straightforward for Preservation. It's the exact same as Devastation, just simpler. And that is use your Protracted Talons to grab mobs, stack them up. Groups of like 2 to 5 are probably the most efficient for Preservation. Remember, with the Talons, you'll be able to do additional target. Stack them all up together, and then you want to use your Tip the Scales, which makes your next charge instant, or just channel up. I think for Preservation, you do want to channel Fire Breath all the way up for the next reason, which is Leaping Flames. This one makes your Living Flame hit additional targets for every target, for every channel level you have on it. So if you channel this all the way up on Fire Breath, you'll be able to hit up to 5 targets, which with your next Living Flame, super cool. So you'll be able to do damage there. If there's any, if there's an additional targets, it will target you, which will heal you, which will give you nice ways to make your next Living Flame faster. Healing yourself with Living Flame reduces the cast time of your next Living Flame. So say you charge this up all the way and there's 4 targets instead of 5. When you do your flame or your Fire Breath, you'll be able to get an extra Living Flame that hits you, triggers Ancient Flame. Then you can do faster Ancient Flames on top of that. And then you just spam this until you have Essence on your Xur Strike. Make sure you throw out the Fire Breath on cooldown. Lots of AoE, throw out your Living Flame, and that's it. You're just doing that rotation. You can use all of your normal healing abilities. You can rewind, you can reversion, you can use Echo if you have extra Essence to keep yourself alive. Remember, you can target yourself with Verdant Embrace. You can also throw out your Emerald Blossom if you have extra Essence points that you can spend. And that's basically it. It's very straightforward. Your biggest thing is using these 3 talents here, stacking up your Fire Breath. If you have Tip the Scales, you can activate it, make your Fire Breath ba-ba-boom, and then do a big AoE for Living Flame, which might make your next Living Flame even faster, like that. Then you can single target with Disintegrate, or just keep casting Living Flame, and that's it. Very straightforward, super casual. You're still going to be very mobile, but this is the tree that I would recommend. The script or the import string for this is down below in the description if you want to level as Preservation. But I hope this guide has helped get started with your Evoker. Happy expansion. Good luck out there. And if you're looking for more content, you'll find it right here. If you enjoyed yourself today, leave a like down below. You can support me and my work on Patreon and view Patreon exclusive content. Link in the description. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.